Shocking move. Liberals revolt on Carney. Net zero cash grab exposed. In a seismic shift that has rocked Canada's political landscape, Prime Minister Mark Carney's ambitious net zero agenda has sparked a fierce revolt within his own Liberal Party. Once celebrated as a global climate champion, Carney's recent policy decisions have led to accusations of a cash grab under the guise of environmental reform. This internal rebellion threatens to unravel the government's credibility and raises critical questions about the true cost of Canada's green transition, a transition that many Canadians believed would be transformative for the nation. Carney's administration initially received praise for its ambitious climate targets, reflecting his background as a central banker and UN climate envoy. These efforts position Canada as a leader in global climate action, inspiring hope among advocates and citizens. However, recent decisions have sparked controversy, particularly the abrupt termination of the consumer carbon tax, which many see as yielding to political pressures rather than a strategic environmental move. This policy reversal has eroded public trust and ignited discontent within the Liberal caucus, as party members express disagreement over the direction of climate policy. The backlash from within the party has been swift, with several prominent Liberal MPs publicly criticizing Carney's approach. They accuse him of prioritizing short-term economic gains over environmental concerns, contradicting the party's commitment to sustainability. Members argue that economic recovery following the COVID-19 pandemic should not compromise long-term environmental goals. The rift is deepening, with some suggesting that Carney's leadership may not align with the party's core values, raising fears of a potential leadership challenge. Critics argue that Carney's recent policy decisions prioritize economic expediency over environmental responsibility. The government's push to expand oil production, including support for new pipelines and carbon capture projects, is framed as essential for energy security and economic growth amidst fluctuating global oil prices. However, environmental advocates claim these initiatives contradict Canada's climate commitments and could worsen greenhouse gas emissions and ecological degradation. This perception of prioritizing economic interests over environmental obligations has fueled anger among activists and may mobilize public opinion against the government. Carney's administration faces criticism for its handling of the electric vehicle (EV) mandate, originally requiring 20% of vehicle sales to be electric by 2026 and 100% by 2035. The mandate is now under review, raising concerns among environmentalists and industry stakeholders. Automakers cite supply chain challenges and the need for significant infrastructure development, questioning the feasibility of these targets. The government's reconsideration of the mandate has led to doubts about its commitment to net zero emissions, suggesting that political considerations may unduly influence environmental policy and undermining public trust in its effectiveness against climate change. The controversy surrounding Carney's environmental policies has also drawn international attention, highlighting the global implications of Canada's domestic decisions. Environmental organizations and climate experts have expressed concern that Canada's policy shifts could undermine global efforts to combat climate change, particularly as countries work collaboratively to meet international targets. Carney's previous leadership in global climate initiatives had positioned Canada as a leader in environmental stewardship, but recent actions have led to skepticism about the country's dedication to its climate commitments, casting a shadow over past achievements and raising doubts about future cooperation on international climate agreements. In response to the internal revolt, Carney has attempted to reassure both the public and his party members through a series of public statements and press conferences. He emphasizes that the government's environmental policies are evolving to balance economic and environmental priorities, a narrative aimed at mollifying both critics within the party and concerned constituents. However, critics argue that these reassurances lack substance and that the government's actions speak louder than words. The lack of a clear, consistent strategy has left many questioning the government's commitment to its environmental goals, and the perception of indecision exacerbates the existing tension within the party and among the electorate. The unfolding situation presents a significant challenge for Carney's leadership, as the internal dissent threatens to erode the party's unity and could have lasting repercussions for its standing in future elections. The public's perception of the government's environmental credibility is at stake, Carney must navigate these turbulent waters carefully to restore confidence among both party members and the general public. The stakes are high as voters increasingly demand accountability and transparency from their leaders, particularly on issues as critical as climate change and environmental sustainability. The debate over Canada's environmental policies underscores the complex interplay between economic growth and environmental sustainability. As the country strives to meet its climate targets, it faces the challenge of implementing policies that promote both economic prosperity and environmental health. The current crisis highlights the need for a balanced approach that considers the long-term implications of policy decisions and recognizes the interconnectedness of economic and environmental factors. As public awareness of climate issues grows, so too does the expectation that policymakers will act decisively and responsibly. Looking ahead, the government's ability to reconcile economic and environmental objectives will be crucial for its success. Achieving this balance will depend on transparent decision-making processes, robust stakeholder engagement, and a commitment to evidence-based policies that prioritize the well-being of both the economy and the environment. The outcome of this internal revolt may well set the tone for Canada's future environmental and economic strategies, shaping the political landscape for years to come. In conclusion, the Liberal Party's revolt against Carney's net-zero policies reflects deeper tensions within the government regarding the balance between economic interests and environmental responsibilities. As the situation develops, it will be essential to monitor how Carney addresses these challenges and whether the government's actions align with its stated commitments to environmental sustainability. The resolution of this crisis will have lasting implications for Canada's climate policy, its political landscape, and the broader global fight against climate change. Ultimately, the choices made now will not only define Carney's legacy, but also shape the future of Canada's environmental initiatives and its role in the international community's efforts to combat climate change.